Most investors lose money in junior mining stocks, not because the sector is broken, but because they don't know how to decode them. Headlines, hype, a few flashy drill holes suck people in, and 80% of those companies will never make it. I'm Andrew O'Donnell, founder of The Market Mindset. And after years in finance and watching billions flow in and out of this sector, I built the drill sheet. 10 factors, 10 minutes, one score that filters out all the noise and shows you which stories deserve your money. First, rocks matter. Without continuity, without scale, without real 3D models, you've got nothing. The drill sheet asks, is this deposit a system or is it just a one-hit wonder? Without that foundation, the stock dies. Second, bet on people, not just rocks. Has management raised money before? Have they built a mine? Have they sold a project? The drill sheet scores the team the same way Wall Street scores CEOs, by track record, not by promises. Third, catalysts move stocks, not just rocks. Geology is the foundation, but stocks reprice on events investors can trade. Drill results that prove scale, JV deals, financing, resource updates. Without catalysts on the horizon, even great geology won't move the share price. The drill sheet maps those catalysts on a timeline, so you know if you're looking at the next re-rate or just watching cash burn. Fourth, know your multiples. If you're paying $100 million market cap for a story your peers are paying $20 million for, you're the bag holder. The drill sheet benchmarks juniors against peers to know if you're buying leverage or paying for hype. Now, let me be clear. The drill sheet is not a magic number. It's not a crystal ball. It won't predict the future or tell you when to buy or when to sell. What it does is far more practical. It filters out 80% of those juniors that are just noise, and it shines a spotlight on the small minority with legitimate prospects. It's the fastest way to reveal true potential and to know the right questions to ask next. That's why we tie it to CEO interviews. We've done hundreds of CEO interviews. The score points that spotlight, and the interviews let us drill deeper. This is book one of the Drill Sheet series, Unlocking Junior Mining Opportunities. 10 factors, 10 minutes, one score that filters noise and shows you the minority of juniors with a real shot. Here's how to try it. Download book one free right now. Every Friday, we go live with subscribers and we break down the 2 companies that we scored that week. If you subscribe now for just $9, we'll run a drill sheet on your pick, the company you want to see. Send us the ticker and you'll see the framework at work. Stop guessing. Start investing like the pros. Download Unlocking Junior Mining Opportunities today and join us on Friday. Happy Wednesday. We're almost there. We're midday here in Alberta, or just about midday. And this is the end of year compilation. We're going to chat about what's been going on. Everyone's talking about precious metals, especially silver, but we're going to talk about everything. This isn't just a highlight reel. It's going to go over some of the big deals, some of the big financings. I'll probably miss some of them, a few, but I want to do a bit of a recap because we've been at this for eight and a half years. And really stayed in the trenches there. We had a little good jump at one point, but we really feel 2026, it looks exceptional. It's taken a lot of work for people to understand how key mining is, even though still to this date, there was a great post on LinkedIn that showed it's like 1% of the holdings of most people. The sector itself is tiny, but what's so impressive about that, and it's why we've led with that term asymmetry or asymmetric gains, is that 1%, it's the term critical is overused. It's vital, it's necessary, it's absolute that we need this for any and all ventures moving forward. I say it all the time, but it's taken time for governments to recognize that. It's given time for businesses to realize who's really serious. Are we going to have to find our own supply chain? Are we going to have to find logistics? And quite frankly, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the AI and the technology and all the exciting what ifs. And we assume we've got this part taken care of. We've got lots of silver. Well, people are waking up to the fact that that's not true. And this year has really highlighted that. Let's just start looking at 2025 because it was a big win. I know it's a lot. It's challenging, and we're not going to dress over that for most people because there's lots of ups and downs. And there's lots of contradictions, and it's likely to continue in 2026. To be frank, but this we expect winning to move into 26 as well. And we had lots of wins this past year, which we'll go through as well. And precious metals is that anchor or that theme. It has been for years. It's remarkable to think that when I first started, we were talking about silver at 14 and gold is about $1,100. We're obviously at incredible rates now. And for us, as fantastic as that is, why that matters is because we focus on actual miners. There's no end to streams and YouTube channels that talk about the macro and gold and silver. And those tend to get a lot of views and a lot of attention, but they don't necessarily drive a lot of buy-in. And for us, we want to focus on niche people that want to use a drill sheet, our core foundation and model, and to join us every week to chat about different ideas. Because sometimes people throw me ideas that I think, oh, I've never heard of them. And it's great. We want that engagement for people who are looking at the actual companies that produce and the actual exploration, doing the R&D to help get us to where we want to go. And also on a larger narrative theme, for the free content, I try to make it as interesting as possible so that people can see where it's needed and not just hyperbole, but directly. And we'll talk here about the obvious gold and silver run we've had. Now, once again, we don't trade. Our interest isn't in trading on the futures markets, buying and selling gold or any of that nature. But can we see a bit of a pullback? Yeah, we saw that in silver pull back and pop back up again. There's going to be big bets and there's going to be big trades. We've done a whole show on flow trading. And the more that mining gets in the spotlight, the more attention it gathers. That's great. But there's going to be more chaos that comes with that as well, because the more that you attract the ability to make money in a market, there's a run, which is great. But there's also, what comes with that is people taking profits on large scales, taking bigger bets as well. But for us, I keep it pretty simple. We don't need to go into too much more depth about precious metals moving forward here. Nothing has changed. From 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, to last year, to last week, silver sharply risen? Yes. Is that a bit of a concern? Of course it is. When things go, that way in that direction, you always have to pay a bit more attention. But as many of the great content providers out there, and we mention them quite often, whether it's David Morgan, whether it's Peter Kraut, and our friend Chris over at Arcadia Economics, they'll go into the exact details as to the supply crunch that we're having. And this goes the same for copper, which we saw as well. It's this assumption that people have that, we'll just, produce more. It's mining isn't like a lot of other extractive industries, and mining especially has a lot of guardrails on it to hold it back. And maybe this year, maybe we're going to see some of that come off, because honestly, and I know people might get sick of me saying this, Canada itself has a chance of being an absolute titan if they wanted to. And that message is not easy to get out. Believe me, those of you, we get probably about 400 people live whenever we have these live stream chats and rants. If all of you went and told 2 or 3 people, that would still be great. Hey, everyone, this is how important mining is, and check out Andrew's stream. That's still nothing compared to the amount of people out there that just don't know. And up against an academia system and a government system, for the most part, has frowned upon any extraction. And that needs to change. And I think it's slowly changing. The narrative is changing in Canada, which is helpful. But once in Canada, especially, if you can get the government on board, the people will follow. Generally speaking, in Canada, their authority is government, and they'll do as they tell them to, for the most part. And that's good in the sense that if we can get Carney to come around, he has the chance to build an economy that's absolutely incredible, and do it properly and do it cleanly. We've put out a great article just regarding if Canada just did what China does, which is meet a world standard, we would be driving this country forward. We wouldn't have people leaving the country. We wouldn't have as many complaints about the issues in the country. Because generally speaking, if we have massively declining productivity and GDP, and growth is only because that you're printing money to pay public sector jobs, that you're not really creating any growth anywhere, that catches up to people. But there's a chance. And I'm critical. And I know a lot of people say I'm very naive to think that this is going to happen. I want to be hopeful because it's there to be had. And once again, it's up to Carney. He's not a dumb man. He would know how to do it, how it would work, if he feels like getting Canada out of where it is. And he certainly has the qualifications to do that and connections. So you know what? I'd rather be optimistic that will come around. And we've talked about that many times. But the macro theme here, obviously, is not only precious metals, but copper. And if you don't care about green, that's fine. We don't need to care about the green narrative, the greens, like nothing. We don't even have to even talk about that. We don't have to talk about EVs or anything. If you're not a fan of that notion, that's fine. And if you are, great. You're like me. I think there's a fantastic opportunity for so many of these technologies to develop, even though some of them may not be there yet. We would love anything that creates more opportunity, cleaner energy, abundant energy. And right now, what we see is a huge push on natural gas, which we also are a big fan of and we believe in. And certainly not only for the grid itself in the US, but for any of this generation need for AIs and data centers and robotics and everything else. That means turbines, substations, transformers, switchgears, all the transmission upgrades that you could possibly think of. And that grid is massively copper intensive. And that's why no matter what, even if you don't like the idea of more green narrative, even if you just looked at that, at just simply the AI need, the robotics need, that's going to require a massive amount of copper. And the market is warming up to that. Now, of course, if you are a fan of the battery story and everything else, that just puts extra pressure on that market. And we'll touch on a couple of things as well, highlights as to why there's a copper crunch, not only a silver. But once again, these narratives are becoming mainstream. They're being very openly talked about. And it's just a matter of time before people start thinking, you know what, maybe this AI narrative has kind of not dried up, but it's growing. But I've made so much money over here. Maybe I need to be focused on like who makes all these generators and substations, who needs to meet this demand, because make no mistake, the commitments are enormous. They're massive for what they want to achieve and what they're going to do. As much as we'd like to think that it's all going to be small modular reactors or it's going to be solar panels or whatever it's going to be a mixture of some, but it's going to be natural gas and it's going to be generation and generators of that nature. Well, obviously, we're going to be paying attention to a couple of those big U.S. companies moving forward in 2026. And that energy re-rate is going to move forward. Now, have we seen it in the price? No, not yet. But we've seen that in the infrastructure and the build out and the demand. And that's the bottleneck area that you have to pay attention to. All of the money and the MOUs and the long-term intentions and anything else that's coming from a tech company, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to build the infrastructure to accommodate that demand. So we're going to see money flow into there. That's going to happen. Now, if it's quiet, that's fine. If it doesn't get the big headlines, once again, that's fine. But there's going to be tons of opportunity in that. And that, once again, means a ton of metal. And if you want the biggest bang for your buck, is that asymmetric play at looking at companies that are going to be able to fulfill particularly U.S. demand. 5, policy tightening around critical minerals. Lots of talk. It's not an easy conversation, believe me. All the stakeholders, it isn't just rhetoric anymore. We used to complain a couple of years ago, like, listen, they should have started in 2014 to get this ball rolling, to get all the people that they'd want to talk to and get policy made so that we could really go after the goals that a lot of these kind of, call them elites or globalists, they would have had to put plans into place to really make this work. And what we had found over the years and years of analyzing and waiting and talking to people is that there wasn't any plan. And the plans have now kind of come together in a hurry. But luckily for a country like Canada, well, we've got all the resources here and we've got lots of great companies. We've got arguably too many exploration companies, but we've definitely got a good core that are fantastic. There's a great core there, and our drill sheet has identified plenty that have scored over 70. Those we'll be sharing with all of our engaged subscribers who want to come along this journey in 2026, because it's going to be wild, and we really hope you do. And we've made that commitment to join. It really is very little. It's $20 a month. And people say, well, it mustn't be worth very much if it's only $20 a month. No. We make most of our money in the market. We put our money behind deals. That's where we make probably 90% of our money. The other money would come with sponsorship deals and working with companies that we're hoping we can work with. And in our 2026 year ahead, we're naming the ones we'd love to work with. Hopefully we can, and we'll see. Maybe we will. But regardless, we're also naming the ones we're putting money into. And we've got an interesting way we're going to share that with people as well, so they can keep track and follow along with us. And we'll talk about some of the ones, if you have been a subscriber, we'll talk about some of the ones from last year because, hey, it's already happened. And you can see if you had joined, the first one you would have seen off the top was we were writing about and talking about Montage Gold, actually back in early December, late November last year. And we'll jump to that one here in a minute. Let me just put up our screen here, share this, and share this. There we go. And we don't try to focus on, we've got this win and that win and whatnot, because we don't seem, too hoity-toity or anything like that. But the goal here is to try to get people excited and take a bit of their excitement and curiosity about how markets work and apply it and use the drill sheet and to have a testing board to see if it works. And the best testing board is a stock market, is to see if something goes up or down. And once again, we never put price targets on. Our job isn't to do either promotion or to do sell side analytics. It's to fit in between there and to look and go, we can't talk about price. We're not interested in talking about price. That's not my job. What I need to do is identify actual catalysts, actual geology, and if the company's hitting those metrics. The markets will do what the markets are going to do. We never tell people to buy, sell, anything like that. It's not our job. It's not our place, but we're happy to share with people what we are doing and why we're doing it. And in part, it's not just an academic exercise to see that the drill sheet works and provides great guidance. It's the fact that, like anything else, I like to challenge myself at things, whether it's working out and keeping fit. I used to be a high-level rower. The best way to test yourself is to constantly challenge yourself. And one of the ways I can do that now, since I'm getting older and don't have the energetic competitiveness that I used to have, is you can use your mind and you can test out theories and test out companies and see, are they hitting their metrics? And that's what we find so fascinating about waking up every morning to see, if I apply a model, is it making sense? Is it working? And we're finding it's working so far. So in any event, make sure you join us for that, because this next year is going to be fantastic. And that doesn't mean the 2025 wasn't. It was incredible. And once again, let's just focus in on here a couple of the bigger deals that were out there. So, and I'm going to miss some as well, so just bear with me. Deal one, Northern Star acquires De Grey, that Hemi project. Arguably one of the most important gold deals of the year. Definitely a strategic move during gold re-rating and pricing higher. Goldfields buying Gold Road. That's the Gruyere consolidation. That was about $3.7 billion, consolidating control over that mine. It's a classic cycle behavior. Majors and large mid-tiers consolidating long life for ounces. Capricorn Metals to acquire Warrior. That's bringing two mid-tier into consolidation. Coeur announces acquisition of New Gold, another major one, precious metals consolidation move, producing a larger North American platform, very meaningful, very cash flow positive, and great company to look at in and of itself. Royal Golds, They bought Sandstorm and Horizon Copper. This one is because it's a royalty streaming consolidation, which is a different lane, but it reinforces the same message that capital wants durable, long life exposure to precious metals. Just think of the cash flow that they're producing right now. And if they're not producing cash flow and you've got a mine, you've got some big questions to ask for. And believe me, that's not, that's some issues. That's a red flag, because right now it's incredible the cash flow they're producing. And what's that mean? It means when we had the VREC at the end of January and March for PDAC, there's going to be deal making. Believe me, there's going to be a lot of deal making, and a lot of these big mids and large tier precious metals companies and copper companies that have tons of cash flow, they need to replace ounces. They need to keep on buying. And the outlook, certainly from our world into the talking heads, you know, the beyond Kitco and whatnot, is obviously fantastic. People have huge expectations, but we like to be more somber and look at those that don't really care about mining. So we look at the investment banks. We say, well, what do they think? Well, across the board, they're expecting, you know, up to 5,000 gold for next year. I hate trying to call what a gold is going to be or a silver is going to be a year out. What I can safely say is that, will it trade a bit? Yes. Will it pull back a bit? Probably. Might it hit 5,000? Yeah, it could, for sure. For us, we just look at the macro, the fundamentals, and say, even the good things that you see that might be happening in GDP, and we'll get into the economy, or that might be happening in productivity and AI, the core problems have not been solved. And that means people are paying attention to precious metals. They're looking for solid inflation adjusted assets that are real and tangible. And that is where the precious metal market shines. And once again, tiny. In regards to retail, and especially in North America, that market is tiny. Who's really interested in that? Federal governments, countries, nations. That's who focuses on that. Is, once again, that's where I'd like to focus most of my attention on, that size of group of people, because that's the real decision making right there and then. That's people showing you at that level what they find is important and valuable. Some other major ones, of course. All right, Contango Ore and Dolly Varden. We'll leave it with that one because there's plenty more, but that consolidation, very interesting. Hit close to home, right here in the Golden Triangle. Exceptional. We put out an interesting piece all on that because it had some yeses and praises, some challenges to it, but we're overall thrilled by that. And it's that all, once again, opens up to who's next, what's going to happen next year. And for us, let's move here quickly down to, oops, I just removed it. I'll get back to that. We did cover a bunch of companies and had lots of interviews with people and companies that we really liked and loved. And some of them are pretty obvious because we don't shut up about them. And we like to, and not just because we get, most of these companies too, like we don't have any current relationship with or working with. We just like them and we want people to do well. Like, and for you to follow me and to care about what I'm saying is you need to see, okay, is he mentioning companies that are worthwhile? And if they're not worthwhile, well, do they have a catalyst that is worthwhile? So something like a Fort Minerals, that is a permit to drill. And that was that story for quite some time, right from the IPO a couple of years ago, waiting for, to go. And now it's drilling is happening. And that story, that is why we're seeing such a great move in that stock and in their entire story. Let me just move this down here. There's Fort, which is great for the company. It's great for copper, and we are looking forward to what they do in the year ahead. Once again, if you want to find out exactly what we're doing for the year ahead, make sure you join. We're going to post tomorrow our 2026 year ahead of some of the companies that we're holding, selling, maybe adding to, and new ones to that we're looking to either hopefully once again work with or certainly start putting money into, because there's lots of catalysts across the board. I don't want to go harp too much because you can read this. We're posting this for free today. Power Metallic, great story, copper heavy polymetallic heat kind of story. Now people look at this overall, as far as how it's done for the year, I think it's done fantastic. Why? Because the drill sheet tells me it has. They've built on their story. It may not be reflected in the stock, but once again, that's not how we measure things. We don't measure necessarily that because it's gone up. There's lots of reasons why. I can name a couple stocks that are up right now simply on hope. There's no assays, there's no drill results, there's nothing. That's troubling because that kind of defines, well, if you don't have any actual data and your stock is still going through the roof, that's a concern. And that's not the case with Power Metallic. Power Metallic has had great results. It's got great support, great backing. The big issue with it, and we've talked about it for our subscribers, is they're waiting for that step out, that release of those assays. So make sure you check in with us to see what our thoughts are and as to why that is. It's had a mixed year, but we want to show that because, make no mistake, whatever, that's a core holding for us. Power Metallic. And we don't want to just show, oh, everything's a winner. That's boring and no one likes that. That one we've got conviction in. We don't work with them. We don't have any existing relationship with Power Metallic. So I'll put that out there. We're very clear on all of that type of thing as well. Would we love to be working with them? Yeah, of course we would. But regardless, that doesn't influence how we work. What influences how we put money together or how we look at something is what the drill sheet tells us. That remains fixed. It doesn't change. It doesn't matter what the hope or maybes or whatnot. It'll tell us if there's a shot and it'll tell us the catalyst. And that makes my job a lot easier because once again, I get to sit in between that world of not being promotional. We know what that looks like. And I'm not a sell-side analyst working at an investment bank or a fund who's going to write a report and give you a price target. I'm not licensed anymore. I can't do that anyway. But what I can do is I can sit right in the middle there. I can tell you what the geology is like. We can cross-reference that. We can give it a score. We can look to say, are they hitting milestones? Are they hitting catalysts? And that's the whole point, is to be that voice in between. And also that allows me to also send that work to actual sell-side analysts who may be looking at a company, but they're not quite there yet. And if we can fill in that gap for them to go, hey, take a look at this company. It doesn't hurt. They're not insulted. They don't think, oh, why are you sending me this stuff? Because it fills in a gap and reminds them to look at a company that has catalysts and that is potentially growing or doing what they said they're going to do. Sitka's been a fantastic story. And Goliath, I just skipped over Goliath. I'll put these two together because they're kind of brother and sister, even though they're not related by company or any kind of ownership or anything. We like it because there's a lot of similarities as well as some differences. But both great companies. We think they're going to have fantastic years, huge drill programs for 2026. So there'll be news, and it likely would be pivotal for both those companies. We've worked with Goliath forever. I've known the team for quite some time. We've got a big position in it. Sitka, we've got a small position in it. And once again, no working relationship, but we do love what they're doing. We put out a number of drill sheets and reports on them as well for our subscribers. We talked a little bit more too about Montage, just briefly. That one, I'll leave it that because that one has been quite outstanding. And that was a good friend of mine who said, hey, Andrew, take a look at them. And we did. We put that in quickly. I think one of our first posts just before last year that we were looking at Montage. And this is a fantastic story about, just construction reality. And we're pretty impressed by it. Now, I'm going to leave it at that. Well, you know what? I'll mention this last one because skip through. If you want more information about any of these other ones here, reach out to me. First Phosphate, we participated in the IPO of that. And it was quiet for quite some time, and we've been big fans of it. We had a working relationship with them 2 years ago. Haven't since. We've held the position. We've talked about it even during the dry times because we are big believers in what John Pasalacqua is doing over there. And it seems like its time has come. That kind of wait in the doldrums, people not really realizing what's happening there, or they are, but just not enough attention. I mean, it's phosphate. If you think selling a mining story is difficult and getting people excited about gold and silver, when you add in chemistry and you add in batteries, you add in extra layers, people have to be very familiar, let's just say, with a lot before they get excited about that. But we think that the last year has shown that they've listed in NASDAQ. They've constantly done what they said they're going to do. So it isn't just that all of a sudden the company has hit milestones. John, since day one, has done an outstanding job hitting milestones. And I think it's a great one to mention because it just shows that companies can be ignored. The market's not reflecting anything, even though they're doing great work and they're building their thesis. And the market wouldn't show that anything's happening, which is also another big plug as to why the drill sheet is so invaluable, because it reminds us, yes, there are things happening. Yes, the thesis is being improved upon. This deal being done opens this up. And that means that there is theoretically lots of stored up value in a company once people recognize. And, for a lot of these stories, I don't know what that catalyst is for people to finally go, oh, wow, I need to be paying attention to this company. But I'm patient. And that's why we don't trade. We sit in stocks for years. We find core holdings that we love. And yeah, we might sell a little bit 1 month and then buy a little bit for whatever reasons. We are not in the business, once again, of promotion, of hype, of any of that kind of nonsense. We're in looking for real projects. Some will work out, some won't, to be able to make money in. For me, that's why I'm doing it. What we're hoping to attract other people is that they have a way of being curious about mining, learning about mining, and also have a drill sheet in which they can get rid of so many companies so quickly and focus in on ones that are really, really worth paying attention to. And that is the core of what we've done for 2025. And that's why we're so excited about 2026. It's going to be a pivotal year for us. We're extremely excited. And we're just going to keep our heads down and keep on reaching out to a niche crowd that's interested in projects, in real companies that are meeting high thresholds and that want to talk about them. We're not trying to get 100,000 people on YouTube, although we've got 10,000. We're not trying to get 100,000 emails. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach people that have a lot of interest and that want to talk about the possibilities of some of these companies on a macro level, but also, can they be bought out? Are they even possible to have an M&A? Is this just hype? And all of that is critical because for my portfolio, this is a portion. This is the venture, speculative, high octane, high growth, high risk, hopefully high reward, but also painful. We've been pushed back to our knees on some stocks, and that's what happens. But that's what makes it exciting. While the overall portfolio for me is centered upon other things. But I like to test my brain on this market. Mining and extraction is exceptionally difficult, arguably right up there with anything that they'd be doing on the tech as well. And not because of the sheer genius that's required for tech and for software engineering and robotics and whatnot, but because the level of problems that can come up because of stakeholders, people, permitting, special interest groups, governments, NGOs. There are so many wrenches that can be put into a project that it's very, very challenging. But we've come, hopefully, to the realization in Canada and hopefully in the US as well, is that none of this happens. And believe me, it's going to happen in China. They're plowing forward. So the idea of well, maybe we should slow down. No, that's not an option. We have to plow ahead. We have to do it correctly and do it cleanly. And we have the opportunity to do that now. And if we can get people excited about the R&D, like these exploration companies, and help them identify lifestyle companies, ones that aren't real, so they don't feel hurt if they feel like, oh, I put money into this because my friend's friend told me it was going to the moon. This is what happens a lot of times. People hear about how, and they see a spike and then a drop, and they never want to get back in it again. And my job is to get rid of 80% of those companies so that people don't see it and that they see that there's real companies doing real work with real projects. And we have a fixed model that identifies them. Doesn't matter what reason that there could be, it remains the same for everybody. And that's what makes it fair. And it helps us to stay on track. It allows me to scan a lot more companies. And it's going to mean that 2026 is going to be, it's going to be a bit chaotic. And yes, there's going to be problems. But once again, mining is going to have its time sooner or later. And if you thought last year had some big wins, certainly we did. 2026 should be a lot of fun. We can't tell the future, but certainly if we look at the past and we look at what's happened leading up to the end of the year, the foundation is there. The fundamentals are there. The acceptance and realization of why we need to do this is there. And once again, we're a tiny, tiny, tiny market that needs a lot of money put into it. And that's where the asymmetric possibility and opportunity lies. Will it be that simple? Of course not. No, because just because I've been in the market for a short time compared to many for 8 years, doesn't mean it doesn't take a long time for a lot of people to get their heads wrapped around why is it that we need mining. And that's what we're here for. And we appreciate all the messages and all the subscribers and all the great work that's gone on this year by fantastic CEOs and fantastic companies out there hustling and working their butt off. Lots of big winners. They should feel happy. They've had great holidays and they should have a great night tonight at the end of 2025 with so many spectacular deals, so many spectacular wins out there for companies, and look forward to 2026. And we want to do it with you. So everyone, thanks for being a part of this. We really want you to engage some more. You let me know what you need to see from us or what you'd like to see from us. We'd be happy to do it. My goal is always to identify problems out there, face them straight on, and to give people tools to use to go to find some companies that they find interesting. And if you find 5 or 10 companies interesting or a story, we want to help you with it. So, reach out to me. And if you want to become a member, as it says at the beginning of the show, we'll do a drill sheet just for you. If you send me one company and you've signed up and you're a member with us for $9, we'll do one for you and we'll have a little chat about it. And we'll book a time for 15 minutes and go through it because that's my goal. I know I'm going to do well in 2026. That's not being cocky or arrogant. I just know we would love lots of other people to come along for that ride. And we're going to do well because the stories are building. The drill sheets are there. There's people doing great work. And regardless of what it looks like, as far as any kind of pricing or any action, the growth is there with the stories and with the geology and with what people are building. And that's what we're focused on, that in-between spot. So come join us. We appreciate you and all the best. Take care. Most investors lose money in junior mining stocks, not because the sector is broken, but because they don't know how to decode them. Headlines, hype, a few flashy drill holes suck people in, and 80% of those companies will never make it. I'm Andrew O'Donnell, founder of The Market Mindset. And after years in finance and watching billions flow in and out of this sector, I built the drill sheet. 10 factors, 10 minutes, one score that filters out all the noise and shows you which stories deserve your money. First, rocks matter. Without continuity, without scale, without real 3D models, you've got nothing. The drill sheet asks, is this deposit a system or is it just a one-hit wonder? Without that foundation, the stock dies. Second, bet on people, not just rocks. Has management raised money before? Have they built a mine? Have they sold a project? The drill sheet scores the team the same way Wall Street scores CEOs, by track record, not by promises. Third, catalysts move stocks, not just